Hello guys, this is Mark Millar from Access Noize, and I'm very pleased to introduce my guests today, Paula and Sean from Tiny Magnetic Pets. How's it going, guys?
Good, thank you. All good.
So going back to the start, for anyone that might not know, how did the band get together?
Myself and Paula had kind of known each other before. We kind of met in the rehearsal studio, the factory, I think it was. And we kind of had an attempt at getting a band together, but it didn't really happen. We had a bit of a hiatus for about 9 months or whatever, and then we decided go at it again. But this time we would kind of do it with kind of strict rules in place. And what the strict rules was that we were going to be in the studio, but imagine that the studio was in 1975, so we couldn't use any technology or any instruments that would not have been available in 1975, and we just approached it that way. Also, we kind of wanted to spend all your time as a kind of musician initially. I mean, with me growing up, would be to kind of hide your influences, make sure if anybody ever says, "Oh, that sounded like somebody," I would change it. And this time around, we thought, you know what? Let the influences just, if they come up to the surface, let them come to the surface, and don't fight it. Just go with it. And that's what we did. So we did the first album, and that was 2009 or something like that.
That's what we still do.
Yeah.
Well, pretty with influence, obviously.
Who were the influences growing up? You know, what were you
things like well, for me, it would be I was kind of a bit of a kind of weirdo because aside from having been into the whole kind of synth pop electronic thing as well, I would buy a lot of progressive rock albums as well.
I would buy a lot of house music. So we were quite, you can see how we kind of met in the middle and ended up with kind of Bowie, Kraftwerk, Depeche Mode, rap, Ultravox influence. Really, it's an amalgamation of all of those, really. But yeah, I would have.
Plus, your Underworlds and your Fluke and all that sort of 90s kind of dance stuff. Aphex Twin, Boards of Canada. So just kind of came together through that. It didn't really start kind of gelling kind of properly until Eugene came along, 2005. We played a couple of gigs with him, and the first one we just asked him to sit in, and we had this the big track on the second album, as it became, Semaphore, which is like 11 minutes long, and Eugene had never heard it. He was with another band we were playing with on the same night, and we asked him, you know, we kind of liked his drumming. And he was like, "Do you want to jump in on this track? It's 10 minutes long or whatever." Just kind of, I said, "Well, what do you want me to do?" I said, "Well, there's a 4 to the floor drum machine, so just give it some Keith Moon over the top of it." And yeah, that's what he did. And
oh, well, Sean, you forgot to say we stole them.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say that. We nicked them off the other band. So when I say we, Paula nicked them off.
Is that right? So you were due to go on tour when obviously the lockdown happened and stopped everything for everybody, and you decided to write the new album, which is amazing, Blue Wave. How far into lockdown were you when you decided to put the album together?
Probably about 6 months.
I think it was about May or so. I think it was as late as May or something like that. Yeah.
We just started sending ideas to each other and different things. You know, we had an album ready to go, and then we were just like, oh, you know, look, we always write. So we're kind of like, let's just keep going. And this one just kind of came together very easily. We all worked from 3 different studios and just fired stuff back and forth. So yeah, it worked really well, actually.
It was supposed to be an EP initially, because what happened was we had this big album called The Point of Collapse, kind of like it's a double album, and we had it kind of more or less ready to go, bar the sequencing. And the idea was for 2020, we did the tour with Midge in February, and we finished the second tour with Midge. We finished at the end of February, mid-February. So the plan was that we would, Una was she was on the phone to people in Germany and in the UK, organizing a couple of solo tours for us, as well as some other kind of bigger things coming up towards the end of the year. So the plan was to release The Point of Collapse at that point, but then COVID happened and we had to shelve it. So round about May, everybody is getting, I mean, number one, you crash after a tour anyway. Whenever, no matter who you are, once the tour finishes, you just hit the downward slope, and it usually lasts a couple of weeks or whatever. But normally what would happen in that scenario, when one of us was down, the other ones would be there to pick the other person up. But this time, all of us just crashed, and it was, yeah. So Una came up with an idea to rally the troops. Hey guys, why don't we do another EP? Get it out and kind of like. So we started working on. We said, okay, that's something to focus on because everything else has been cancelled, but we only have one song that we were kind of working on, and that was the title track, which is like 12 and a half minutes. We hadn't even finished it, but we knew it was going to be around about that length. So that's like an EP in itself. So we started writing a couple of other tunes, and then suddenly it was a mini album. And then before we realized it, because everybody writes, and we ended up with the full length album. So that's how it came about. But it was, I mean, pretty kind of bleak time for all concerned, and it was nice to get something like Blue Wave out of it. It was, quite, the good thing come out of the bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. If lockdown hadn't happened, you just wouldn't have this album. So every cloud.
Yeah.
So there was never the intention initially to write an album about lockdown, but that's what's come out of it. And it's weird because it's about lockdown, which isn't a great thing, but it's very up tempo. It's probably your most up tempo album. Would it be right in saying? It's quite positive sounding.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But the writing process of the album, you've all have your own studios. So what was the process for writing the album?
We kind of get asked this all the time, and we always have the same thing. I know it sounds, we don't actually, there is no process.
That's the process.
Because everybody writes, you don't know. And we have this thing where if someone puts an idea in, rather than kind of reject it or sort of go, oh no, I don't like that or whatever, even if you're not sure about it, you have to kind of say, well, what actually does work about the idea? And then you do your bit and then pass it on. And it sounds weird, but to my knowledge, nobody else works like this. So you kind of work that way, and then, but nothing goes on the record without everybody kind of, liking it, and everybody
starts with me and goes Sean, Shane, Eugene, and gets back, and we quite a different song, and you're normally pleasantly surprised when it comes back to you. But that is definitely the way we work. And then, well, obviously we have to with COVID as well, but then you pass it back to Sean, he'll do something else. And the magical thing, I think, with Tiny Magnetic Pets is we are on a very similar wavelength. So there's never something that comes back, you're just kind of, geez, really, we do like the same kind of, we seem to be all kind of going the same way in the same trajectory. So it definitely, it always comes back, you're generally happy, with what each other has added. We definitely feel the sound, and I think each of us kind of know where we're at, don't we, Sean, with that?
Yeah, it's because you never know what's coming next, and you don't know what the other person's going to do to it. So it's a lot of times you're kind of constantly surprised. And the only time where I'm going, oh, I really hate that, is basically was something that I wrote, and you just kind of, Yeah, because you kind of write things, go, oh, this is great, and you get caught up with kind of putting it together. And it's only whenever you kind of finish the idea and you listen back and go, oh, this is awful. How did I think this?
We all do that. We all do
And
that.
in one odd case, I had to actually beg the others to kind of let me nix a track from the album that I wrote because it was terrible. Not this album, the previous one.
It wasn't terrible.
It was absolutely
It
horrible.
wasn't. I still have it.
And even Una said it was terrible. And she was glad to see the back of it as well. But even with that, what ended up happening with that was it was so bad. It was kind of, but there was a couple of things in there where I thought Eugene had done some nice stuff. And Seamus had done some nice stuff on it. And I was kind of listening back to the bits that they did. And I thought, oh, that's really good. And we ended up getting the flipping title track of the shelved album, about 10 minutes, 10 minutes song out of a rubbish 3.5 minute song.
Do you find it hard then to let go of a song or know when it's finished?
Me or well, I
Well,
think
both
we all kind of know. I think we all kind of know when it's finished, if you know what I mean. We have this saying, you know it when you hear it.
And we also, there's a few things where we come to a vote, but there's rarely arguments on the vote. Like, you know, two of us might, that's how you go, okay, I'll give you this one, and then but you might store up yours to get something else. You know what I mean? So
I owe you.
Each time there's a mixing.
Oh yeah.
So it's fair. It nearly always works out. We've had one ongoing debate at the moment. Sean with the vinyl wants something changed.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't want that. I don't want any band name or title on the cover, but I kind of got outvoted with that.
Let's see who wins that one.
Well,
even though I designed the cover and
it works like the New Order and bands like that never put. They were always
Pink
put
Floyd,
the Pink Floyd. Yeah,
King Crimson, Led Zeppelin, all the greats, just no thing. So I designed the cover and I stupidly put the title on it and the band name when I should have just left it and just presented it. And oh no, we like it with the title on it. Yeah.
No, it looks good. It would either or. It would look fine, I'm sure.
Well, Eugene.
Better without. The next one doesn't have any type on it.
Let's talk about some of the tracks. Actually, my favorite track on the album is "City Sleeps Tonight." It's an absolute belter. Well, what can you tell me about writing and the whole genesis of that track?
Over to you, Paula.
City Sleeps started as kind of a project for somebody else that was interested in something, and then we kind of decided we'd do something with it ourselves. We thought it was kind of a tiny magnetic feel to it. That is specifically about lockdown and then kind of getting out of it in the chorus and the four walls kind of coming in on you, because obviously we've all been so house-based through COVID. And then it was finished, and then I think we were all feeling a bit tetchy. Sean added the guitar, and I think it really added something to that song. It finished it off really, really well. But yeah, I like that tune actually. Looking forward to doing that one live. I thought the guitar added to it, didn't it? Kind of the feeling of.
Yeah, it's kind of the guitars played. Seamus played the guitar actually. So that's he was giving us some Robert Fripp on it. Made it kind of bit Bowie-esque, which was really nice.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I found interesting about that song when we were doing it, as Paula said, we were kind of working on another idea. It was with someone else, but it was just too poppy. It was very kind of pop, kind of commercially kind of thing. And we just thought, no, let's go and do something ourselves. So we started, whenever we started writing it, it was kind of weird because the first time I remember thinking when I was doing my synths, what would Alan Wilder from Depeche Mode do on this track? So I dug out an 80s synth that I had bought secondhand, and there was like whoever owned it had kind of programs in there, and they would call things like New Life, Pimp, things. So obviously some Depeche Mode fan. So
Yeah, absolutely.
let's play around with this and see. And yeah, I just did it like that. So that was interesting. It was kind of again a different way of kind of working on something.
Yeah, good.
Well,
That
you
was
mentioned
fun.
Alan Wilder there, but Vince Clarke, who was in the first incarnation of the Depeche Mode, remixed Automation, which is
Yeah.
a brilliant track on its own on the album. So why did you decide to put it out for the legend that Vince Clarke, the remix?
We were like really amazed that he, he actually did the remix. It was incredible. And we kind of thought that was kind of probably more radio friendly than the original one, which is kind of more industrial kind of thing. The actual original one was the kind of last addition to the album, because it was something that had been, we kind of started on it, and it was the idea where we were kind of trying to get a kind of collaboration with Die Krups in Dusseldorf, the kind of like German kind of industrial band, and we kind of know a couple of them, but they had just released their last album, and they were going on tour at the time, so the track had kind of got shelved, and it was all finished, and it wasn't even finished. Sorry, it was just a kind of a bass line and a drum machine, and when the album was going to be a mini album. And Una had heard the track, the backing track, and she says, "What's this?" And I said, "Oh, it's a sketch, it's an idea or something." And she goes, "I think you should finish that, put it on the album." So we decided to finish it ourselves, not bother waiting on the collaboration. And then Vince did the remix, and I love both of them. The remix is absolutely brilliant. And then Nick Reachup did who manages the Prodigy. He did the disco remix.
Yeah, super. Right.
That was
and they're being released, isn't that right? On 12-inch.
Yeah, it's a 12-inch. Both those tracks, the Vince remix and Nick Reachup, plus there's Workings of a Madman, bleak dystopian ambient kind of mix of it, and then the original. So it's like 4 tracks on the 12-inch.
4 very different mixes, right? Be nice.
I'm looking forward to hearing them. I really am. I'm a huge Vince Clarke fan. Just wondering, what would be your favorite Vince Clarke era? Depeche Mode, The Assembly, Yazoo, or Razor?
Probably Yazoo's hits are pretty good.
Yeah, some good stuff there.
The Yazoo stuff I really like, and the first Depeche Mode album as well. Yeah, probably Yazoo. I think
Erasure obviously is serious.
Some of the Erasure stuff is excellent, but from album point of view, I think probably Yazoo.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, good call.
He's great. He's such a good writer and producer. Oh goodness.
Yeah.
He is. He's a talented man, and he put his vocals on Automation as well. It's kind of like,
did he?
He did a bit of a solo, his vocoder thing, and he did a bit of a solo kind of on it as well, which is great.
That's very unique now.
Well, like I said, Sean, get him off. Who does he think he is? But, no.
I don't think Vince Clarke's ever even signed on a Razor track. So
he's on ours anyway, on the vocoder thing.
That's cool. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Which track on the album do you feel most connected to? What do you enjoy most?
Emotionally, Blue Wave, because I think, this year it's been so up and down, heartbreaking at times, and then at other times it's making you appreciate what you have, and you're alive and you're healthy, and then you guys kind of can't hug your family members or see people. So I think Blue Wave travels through that whole journey for me. Particularly the latter half, which is very emotional, and I think the one I get upset nearly. I'm very emotional at parts even listening to that song myself, because it was a tough, odd year, and well, it's gone over a year. So if I was to say the most connected to a song, it would be that, for what we've all gone through definitely.
I really enjoy it. It's like a 12-minute long epic track. It's great.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. These 12-minute things just happen, by the way. We don't kind of force them or anything.
What would you be most connected with, Sean?
Well, question for you. You're not going to cry on stage when you're singing Blue Wave, are you?
No.
wouldn't be the first time. Probably Blue Wave as well. For me, it's a toss between Blue Wave and the closing track, Mid-Atlantic Drift. I think that, having said that, I actually just listened to the album as a whole. I put it on from start to finish, and honestly, I think it's, to date, I think it's our best album, and I just love it. Being like really sado here, I actually listen to it every night before I go to bed. And I know Una, every car journey, I know Una listens to it she's got one in the car as well. But yeah, probably Blue Wave, I think. But I mean, it's like kind of just like a one notch above the others, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think Blue Wave's probably the most reflective track, just given what we've all gone through. So I think that's what it is. I'd say Eugene's probably the same.
I think it's Blue Wave with everybody. I think it's that.
Yeah.
But,
it's great. It really works. I mean, I love listening to albums, and unfortunately, you know, the age of streaming and Spotify and things like that, people just, you know, cherry pick tracks.
Yeah.
You know, so I just love listening to it the whole way through as well. But what's your opinion on streaming sites such as Spotify? I'm sure it's not probably great.
Well, I've answered this before. It's one of those things you have to be on it. We don't push it very much. I kind of feel, every band has to be on it. And yes, it's good for getting your music out. And I look at it as a marketing tool that, you know, if you get enough followers and people hear about your concerts and hear your music, they'll come to your shows, they'll buy more merchandise, they'll follow you. So it's disgraceful the amount you're paid. I mean, you know, I've said this before, and I don't mean to sound, I don't remember if the word's big-headed, but it's probably not. But, you know, we've written this ourselves. We've paid to produce it or get it mixed. Our artwork done ourselves, all the time that goes into it, you know, the money for our studios, we put everything into it, and it's our music, you know, effectively, and it goes onto these platforms, and they can give it out to anybody, and you get sweet FA. So I think just if that was up to a level you could make a living from it or get what you should be entitled to, I'd be more than happy to be on these. And I think artists, again, I know they're trying to stand up for this, but I think it's very controlled and it's very unfair, but you have to be on it. So that would be my opinion on that.
But I think the positive thing about Spotify is if I like a band, I'll check that, or if I hear about a band, I'll check them out in Spotify. And if I like them, I will physically buy the album.
I've discovered a lot of music on that, but from the artist's point of view, this is our living. This is what we're trying to do. This is what we're doing. So if you look at it from that point of view, so that's from my point of view. Sean, I'd say you're probably similar, but yeah, it's a great setup.
I really can't stand it, to be honest. Any kind of things that I've made have been from YouTube, which is, I know it's probably something similar, but the thing that kind of infuriates me.
YouTube, we're on our tour bus at like 3 a.m. Eugene, myself, everyone trying to be asleep, and we're in the middle of Germany, and Sean on YouTube, hey, I've just found you Russian. And it's like, oh my God, yeah, Sean listens to everything on YouTube and plays it out loud.
That's all right.
Really, really cool Russian stuff happening. There's some cool stuff happening in Russia at the moment, and none of it kind of really catches on. Some of it's really, really high end, and but I discovered them via kind of YouTube, so not via Spotify. One of the things I find infuriating about Spotify is not only do they not pay you, the only thing that someone gets to see of your album is the cover. So there's a couple of albums where hard to get, so namely said Russian albums. So I would kind of check them out on Spotify, but all you get is a cover. I don't know who.
Your buyout section, no?
No, there's nothing. There is no. Well, not. I kind of watch it on the TV. I don't do it on my phone, but it's kind of you don't get any info about kind of who's playing on it, who the band members are, who wrote what, where the studio was, you know, blah blah blah, who the management is.
I mean,
you get nothing apart from
a CD. When I grew up, I personally would always open it up and who did they thank, where do they record it,
Yes.
the lyrics, the pictures. That was a big part of buying an album, wasn't it?
Yeah,
The
I mean,
label,
absolutely.
yeah, you kind of,
everything, you know.
but it's another way of connecting with the music as well, because you see things like you see somebody is on it from another album or whatever, or some other band, somebody's guested on it, maybe as a drummer or not necessarily a singer where you would know straight away. But I just don't agree with the payment is a pittance, and for that guy to actually come along and say, oh, he wants more content from artists, you know, is a joke. I mean, he's worth more than McCartney, and he doesn't even play an instrument, you know, for all I know. Disclaimer there. But he, apparently the way it works is that rather than if someone kind of say streams one of our records, the money doesn't go to us. The money goes into a big pot where everybody's money goes into, and then it gets split up proportionately. So all our kind of money from, well, Blue Wave's not on there yet, from our records is basically going to Ed Sheeran and Beyonce.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to one of our records, most of it, good old Ed and Bayo is getting our money, which is kind of, yeah, I love streaming.
Well, there's a good thing now. Actually, I just noticed recently. If you go to an artist page, there's a donate button, and you can pay money directly to the artist.
Oh, that's right. That's that's gone a while ago.
Which is good.
Yeah.
It's a bit kind of. I think the only one I think has got it right is Bandcamp.
Yeah. Because
Bandcamp, you can stream it. It's a streaming service as well, but you can buy direct from the artist. That's brilliant.
Well, I'm definitely an iTunes user. I don't know, actually, I haven't really researched the payouts on that, but I'm more iTunes and Spotify. Just that's kind of what I listen to. Sean's YouTube.
You're so 2005, Paula.
Look, I'm started.
You were saying there at the start. You recorded the album "The Point of No Collapse" before Blue Wave. Will it ever see the light of day?
Oh yeah, it's gonna But what happened was we wanted to put it out. We put Blue Wave out ourselves on our own label, but with Point of Collapse, we wanted to put it out on a actual kind of label, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and we have played a lot of the songs. We played two or three of the songs from the album. We played them a lot on the Major tour and Orchestral Maneuvers, the Dark tour. So we have played them a lot. So we'll be familiar with them. So that we will definitely get it out. It's done. It's finished. So
yeah,
it's just
apart from the running order. The running order is the only thing where we want to get that kind of also. Because of the length of it, we have to kind of work out, sequence it where we can split it as 4 sides of vinyl. So that's
we've the cover. It's all done actually. The cover.
The cover is cover's pretty bleak.
Well, as you said there, you supported OMD and Mid-Year in the past couple of years on the tours. How did that come about?
The first one, well, mostly through our manager, Una. She kind of worked, well, as you said, you never kind of really heard of us before. We were kind of going a couple of years, and Una decided, I'll never forget this. She said, oh, look, I've got an email for Rusty Egan, and from Visage and the Blitz Club. And she goes, I think I might send him a message, and I said, he's never going to be interested in us. And she goes, well, do you know what? I'm going to send it anyway. And then the next thing, he came back like within about half an hour. Said like, yeah, send me something over. Yeah, and then we sent. So suddenly, he got interested. He really loved the album. And then what happened was we were invited to play our first show outside of Ireland, and it was Electro London, as it was called, in Hoxton. And we did that, and Rusty was actually down with the flu, and he got out of his sick bed to come and see us. and he was suitably impressed. I don't think anybody was expecting our live show, because we kind of hit the stage like a rock band sort of thing. And Rusty then put us forward for the electricity conference in Dusseldorf, of all places, and that's where we were introduced to Andy McCluskey when we were doing that, and Una gave him our first album. Never heard anything.
No,
and
the biggest surprise was just this email arrived, so we didn't even know they were touring. We didn't put ourselves forward for the tour, and I think that was the biggest shock, wasn't it? Really, just being asked out of the blue. Because I remember Sean ringing me, going, how would you feel about doing that?
Must have been amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it was. Yeah, I mean, it was the thing about the OMD tour was, seriously, they really flipping treated us like we were rock stars. It was. It was weird because I'd been on tours before with support acts and things as a support act, but they just pushed the boat out for us.
They really include you in everything. Couldn't be nicer. And then we were lucky; we got to tour with them again in Germany. We got to play with them on a cruise.
That was weird.
We've done a few things with them, and in the last tour, obviously, we toured with Orchestral Moves in the Dark in December, and literally the next night we joined up in Germany, which is with Millar, and finished that out, and then came home and then went back with him to tour in February. So that was an amazing, a lot of touring December and February, but to go from one tour to the other was amazing. It was really, really, really exciting.
But it was, I was very pleasantly surprised, even on the second OMD tour, because we'd agreed for the Midge tour of Germany, and then I got an email, and it was from a promoter, and it was saying about the German dates, and I thought it was the German dates for Midge, and I was going, have I filled all this in? They've already got all. Why are the email? Hang on, that says OMD. And I thought, oh no, couldn't believe it. Yeah, that was a bit of a shock. But the boat thing with OMD was just weird. That was we got invited to
play live on a boat.
Yeah, they were doing a cruise thing to Amsterdam.
Newcastle to Amsterdam, yeah.
So we did that, and then they got off in Amsterdam, and then they flew back to the UK.
And we were on the way back.
You're headlining on the way back. So thankfully, the audience was all nicely, shall we say, mellow after their day in Amsterdam, on the way back. But it was, it was weird. It was a bit Phoenix Nights on the way back, shall we say?
when you're playing live on a boat, is the stage moving and stuff?
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Yeah, it's
a little bit this way all the time.
I had to stand on my legs apart because you kind of like there was a bit, it was kind of moving with the waves and stuff.
I'm watching OMD and I remember going, this is surreal. I was looking at the water was passing by. It's just like,
that was.
You're seeing when it's like you see it, look at the windows and like, that was an experience and a half. It's funny.
We're talking about you supporting OMD and Midge, but you also supported and worked with Wolfgang Fuhr from Kraftwerk. I know you are big fans of Kraftwerk. So how did that come about?
We ended up. I'm trying to remember where we met him first. I can't actually remember where we met him.
Did Una go to something in London and met him?
I'm trying to remember. Was it the electricity thing in Dusseldorf?
Don't think so. Kind of bad.
Oh, wait a minute. Yes, we met him at the launch for the second electricity thing. Myself and Una met him, but we also had a mutual friend, Rudy Esch from the Krups, who organized the electricity festival. He was a friend of his, so we had this song, Radio 1, and we kind of had it more or less done, but we didn't have any kind of verse. part for it.
Mhm.
And we had the idea of, oh, why don't we ask? Now, we had Wolfgang's solo album, Eloquence,
Mhm.
and it was pretty tasty. And he kind of did a lot of kind of vocal kind of stuff on that, which he obviously didn't do with Kraftwerk. So we were kind of quite pleasantly surprised when we heard it. So we kind of thought, actually, this would be interesting, kind of see what he does on it. So we just asked him, I got Rudy to ask him, would he be interested in the collaboration? And he was, and we sent it over. And yeah, the end result was great. I loved it.
Seems
And
to
then
be
we
seems to be a recurring theme. We had a song.
yeah, we had a song. It was,
We actually like all these songs. Go, let's just target everybody.
do you know what? How did I actually forget this? We met him whenever we opened for him he was playing in Dublin. Yeah. In January, and we supported him for that gig in Voodoo in Dublin. That's where we met him. Yeah.
Mhm.
And but we hadn't the nerve to ask him to his face to do the thing. Actually, the weird thing was
the shows, didn't he, in Germany? He wouldn't bugger off, actually. He kept turning up. But he came to quite a few. He came to, I think, OMD and Major in Germany. So we've met a few times now.
We got an insight into the Kraftwerk ethic when we were doing that track. We kind of send them kind of mixes over, and they come back, overproduce it, take something out, too much going on, strip it back, and he just kind of took stuff, just kind of like, no, too much, take something out, strip it down, strip it back.
He's a great sense of humor. He's a great character.
Oh yeah, he's a brilliant sense of humor. He's really funny. Yeah, do you know the weird thing is, I kind of knew that apparently all Kraftwerk are like that. They've all got this wicked sense of humor.
Right.
Sadly, Florian's not with us anymore. But I was something I got from their records when I was a kid. I remember kind of looking at them and then listening to things, going, "Yeah, these guys are having a laugh." It's just like they're really, and it's kind of weird because it turns out that's what they are like. They just got like this kind of wicked sense of humor. Wolfgang, especially, he's really funny. Mm-hmm.
Ireland's always had a fantastic music scene, but it's not exactly a hotbed, for electronic acts. Have you found it hard to establish yourselves within Ireland?
Where do you want to start?
No, we don't too much here. I don't think is the answer. We've some great supporters of journalists. So Mark Kavanagh, Christian always supports on the radio. Dan Hegarty's came a few times. I to be honest, we do so much away. It's great and we love it. And we do a lot in Germany and the UK, and I feel they're more our kind of homes for our type of music, if I'm perfectly honest.
I don't think electronic music ever really caught on in Ireland. I think in Ireland we're kind of laboring under the misapprehension that we're actually rock and roll. Mm-hmm. We're not. We're guitar pop and pop music and folk music, and that's country and western, bit of Daniel O'Donnell, and that's kind of really it. You think of the whole 80s thing, there was no kind of real synth pop bands in Ireland. Nobody kind of, even the 70s, there was like no kind of real progressive rock or anything like that was happening. No disco, no ambient, nothing. Just and it hasn't really changed from that, which was so we find it kind of really, really weird. In fact, Rusty was billing us initially as the only synth-pop band.
A lot of Irish bands go away and have success and then come back. I mean, there is that.
That's not to say that there hasn't been great Irish music, because there is, and there kind of always will be. Just in the field that we're doing then. I mean, there's things like the first Virgin Prunes album is absolutely incredible. There's an album by a band called Blue in Heaven, which didn't really go anywhere, but it was absolute rock masterpiece in the true sense of the word, produced by Martin Hannett, and it was absolutely fantastic. Didn't really go anywhere. The first ever, our one and only 80s synth-pop album from a band called the Major Thinkers, which featured Pierce Turner on vocals. Great album, but went largely unrecognized. I saw them on TV in Belfast and found the album for 50p 2 days later in Smith's. And I just bought it because, oh, well,
you say once you're out of the country and you mention you're a musician, you're a band, and you're Irish, people automatically default to thinking you're either a singer-songwriter or you're kind of U2 rock band. So, just, you know, if someone says you're English, you think, okay, it could be drum and bass, it could be blah, 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 indie. So I think you do that. There isn't many doing electronic synth-based music here, and I think we have our own sound as well. So I guess Germany and the UK are very receptive to our sound.
Although you two did embrace synth and electronica with Zeruba and the pop album.
Yeah,
that's Zeruba's their best album. That's their masterpiece. That and The Unforgettable Fire.
Act on Baby is pretty good as well.
Well, that's my favorite album of all time.
Act on Baby?
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's my second.
About 3 songs too long, I think. If it had been 40 minutes, it would have been an absolute masterpiece.
I think it's Act on Baby are 2 amazing albums.
Yeah.
Zeruba,
brilliant. What songs would you take off Act on Baby then?
Me, I would take off
So
Who's
Cruel.
Gonna Ride Your Wild Horses. I would kind of lost that one. I would have lost So Cruel, and I would have lost Trying to Throw Your Arms Around the World.
No,
I would have kind of just nixed those 3.
Yeah,
it would have come in at a cozy 40 minutes, classic album length. It would have been absolute masterpiece. I still don't think it would have been as good as Zeruba. Zeruba is Zeruba and The Unforgettable Fire are just, for me, the 2 greatest Irish albums ever made. I just think they're absolutely 2 masterpieces, just brilliant. I think The Unforgettable Fire is the best produced album I've ever heard as well.
Really?
Yeah, I love it. Terrible cover, but brilliant album.
We talked about your collaborations with Wolfgang. Is there anyone else out there you would really love to collaborate with?
Just some guy called Dave Gann.
Yeah. Well,
oh yeah, him.
Yeah, yeah, I would love to collaborate with him. Definitely, that would be.
Well, he would be up for it because he's collaborated recently with Soul Savers.
Yeah,
He's done.
It was good stuff.
So he's next on the target list. No, that would be fantastic for me. Sean, you?
Somebody like Jarvis Cocker, I think would be good. Kind of like that idea.
The Jarvis album, the new Jarvis album's really good.
Great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really good. Yeah.
He's
Sean,
amazing.
I got a while ago. It was really, really good. Who else? There was somebody else.
Sorry, Paula. Would it be a duet with Dave Gann?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Paula's taking the wearing waistcoats on stage.
Yeah, he wears them well, let me tell you.
Yeah,
I think he's a brilliant performer, and he's just fantastic. Yeah. Who else? I just blanked on the band. The other American Sean, 2 guys.
Oh, Fisher Spooner.
Yeah, they'd be interesting to do something with as well. Absolutely.
I think they'd be.
I think that'd be a good banging song.
Yeah, I tell you who I would love to work with for Tiny Midnight Pest to work with, Robert Plant.
That's a good one. You said Bobby Gillespie before as well.
That would be a good one.
See, he came in because he's so left field, so off kilter. I think he would do something really odd with what we're doing. That not the last album he did, the one before it. There was a track on. It was like a rearranged folk song or something called Little Maggie, I think it's called. And it starts off, and it's all those kind of like Egyptian kind of instruments, and you don't realize it, but by the halfway mark, it's morphed seamlessly into sequencers, drum machine, but you don't notice the change going from acoustic sliding into all this pure electronic stuff. And the guy's just weird, and it's brilliant. Also, he can sing over anything. You give him a lot of singers. You have to kind of block it out. Verse, chorus. Here's a verse, chorus. Here's a verse, chorus. Do something. With him, you could just push the fridge against the wall and let it hum for about 5 minutes, and you get a tune.
As Tiny Magnetic Pets, we absolutely love doing collaborations and giving people something to work with. Like we've done on The Point to Collapse. We did a collaboration with Eric from Cult of No Name, who are a UK band. We've also we've done the remixes with Vince and Nick Reach Up and Wolfgang twice. So
Chris Payne from Gary Newman's band.
Chris Payne from Gary Newman's band. We've a remix by another guy, an up and coming guy in the UK, Jake Lewis. So yeah, we're very open and we really enjoy that part of things. The band, it's find that very exciting, and love giving somebody else our stuff and see what they come back with, and then adding it with this. So we're very up for that, and something we particularly enjoy doing, and we will keep doing.
We also remixed The Flock of Seagulls twice.
Right.
Just one track.
Yeah,
it was one track. We did two mixes of it. The first one, I think the first one they rejected, and then we did it, the second one, and then they came back and said, actually, we like both of them, so we're going to use both of them. So that was good. So it was a kind of remix involving the Prague Philharmonic Orchestra. That was
right.
that was good. That was an interesting kind of thing. I think we got a bit drum and bass, didn't we, on the first one? I think we got a bit.
I didn't know they were still going.
Yeah, I think they just came back and did some stuff.
Yeah, I think it was orchestral kind of thing of their hits or whatever, and a couple of years ago.
There's one of their old tracks, just blanked on the name again.
Everybody's doing that.
Space Age Love Song, yeah.
Everybody seems to be doing that, coming back and doing all orchestral versions.
Yeah. I mean, it's be fun working with an orchestra. I think that would be kind of nice to do it. But I'd probably do it on something new rather than orchestrate kind of existing stuff. We kind of do a new kind of piece or something with an orchestra. And choir and the brass section and everything.
and
so that'll be.
Yeah, we had a thing we were supposed to do with the RTE orchestra a couple of years ago. I think we were going to do Semaphore, weren't we?
Yeah.
And we got asked specifically to do it, and then we got bumped at the last minute for somebody else, which is a bit of a sickener, especially then having to get invited to go along and see the other people doing our orchestra slot. Was quite galling, shall we say.
No, that's not good. Maybe one day, maybe, definitely.
Tougher.
Just a few more, guys. I like to ask my guests all these here following questions. Out of all the music in your collection, which artist or band do you have the most albums by?
Ooh.
Would you go first, Paul?
Depeche Mode and U2, I have to say. Sean, I know the answer.
No, actually, Bowie would be.
Oh, yeah, gosh, yes.
Yeah, King Crimson don't have a huge amount of albums. Bowie, probably followed by, Tangerine Dream, I was going to say, and The Cure would probably be my.
Eugene is definitely
Depeche Mode.
Yeah, but he's quite into ska as well. So I don't know who else.
So he had, but I think Depeche Mode would have the most amount of albums because of all this. Like the Smiths didn't big into the Smiths. They only had about 4 studio albums. Who else does he like? He likes the beat and all that. Yeah, he's very ska orientated. Is our huge. And
he comes from, like, I know you all have similar, we cross over at similar influences, but there's definite, I like kind of certainly the dance for me element. Sean's more kind of Kraftwerky, Eugene would come from ska, and Seamus, would you say Seamus, he kind of likes Blue Nile and a whole load of different stuff, really, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Everything. So
he likes a bit of Yes as well.
Seamus writes and is in the studio, but he's very shy, so he doesn't really like to go on stage. Shaney or something.
He's a hermit. He's on all the records, but he doesn't. He did one gig, and he just wasn't.
And he ran. He's like, oh.
Yeah, he wasn't happy. He's just really uncomfortable. Kind of. It's not like he hadn't toured with anybody before. You know what I mean? One gig, and he decided he didn't like it. Personally, I think he's a control freak. He just likes being in the studio, where he can control everything. But yeah, but he's a virtual hermit. He's in a couple of videos. You see him in a couple of videos, but that's about
guest appearance, isn't he?
He's what?
Maybe odd guest appearance.
Yeah, he's yeah, but he just doesn't like playing live or anything like that. So he doesn't like being photographed.
Like 5,000 people in the temperature room. Oh.
Yeah, I don't understand myself how he can't.
No, I have to say.
For anybody not want to do that, it's just.
Here we go.
Yeah. And the sort of like 7,500 people in the Mitsubishi Hala, that was one of the things we found. It completely shocked us, by the way, whenever even from the first tour with OMD, we kind of thought we were going to, first night at Vicar Street, I thought we were going to be standing there in front of about 25
you
people.
Freaked out. Sean's like, no one really comes in to support acts. I'm like, but I have been to concerts before, Sean, Like, we're really nervous. And then it was like, and then even more nervous because it was packed. And they all were. OMD.
Yeah, every one of them, yeah.
Fantastic, as Midges are as well. And a lot of the same people, but super audiences, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, I mean, it was, we kind of played at full houses every night. That was kind of on all those tours. And that was a very pleasant surprise. It was great.
What album or song from an artist or band is your guilty pleasure?
You go first, Paula.
I was going to say Duran Duran song, but Duran Duran are not a guilty
No, they're
pleasure.
cool. They're cool.
Guilty pleasure. Oh my God. I can't think. You put me on the spot now.
Okay, I'll go first.
Some corny stuff though. Every so often, there's no doubt about one shot.
I'll go first. Wired for Sound, Cliff Richard. Actually, that's guilty at all. I just,
Is that the one he in the video he's on the bike with Walkman on skates?
Yeah, on roller skates. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's a tune. That is
actually all right. Like,
yeah, I liked the end, the fade out bit. I like tall speakers. I like small speakers.
Def Leppard, Animal every so often.
No, I'm not guilty about that at all.
No, Def Leppard are cool as well.
When it's really loud and you're in your kitchen. Yeah.
Not according to Eugene. Anytime we bring up Def Leppard, you can see him coming out in a rash.
Oh God.
Yeah, Cliff Richard. Most of all, I like loudspeakers.
I'm sure there's plenty more. I must write that down.
Yeah, Paula, hang on a second. Come on. Coldplay, come on.
Come on.
Well, to be fair, the first three Coldplay albums were pretty good, and then they just went a bit.
Absolutely were. And Scientist is an amazing song, Sean.
Yeah.
Saying nothing.
What have you been listening to recently? Any new stuff that you could recommend?
Uncle and Bombay Cycle Club, probably the most recent, and a band called Art Review Era, who've just blanked, who are American, and I'll tell you now, I have them on one of my playlists. Sean, you can answer and I'll pull it up.
I've Davy Sims, the DJ from Belfast, he put me on to this Egyptian woman called Dina El Wadidi. And she did this album called Slumber, and it's quite out of character for her usual stuff. Her usual stuff's quite kind of worldly music kind of thing, but this is just an electronic ambient masterpiece. It's called Slumber, and it was done. The whole idea behind it was she made field recordings on trains between I think it was Alexandria and Cairo. So she recorded these things and she brought them and put them into Ableton. And it's kind of like a concept album about basically falling asleep on trains. And she wove it all seamlessly together in this one big long piece. And it's absolutely fantastic. If you like kind of Brian Eno, Laurie Anderson, Kate Bush sort of thing, Dina El Wadidi, Slumber, and she sings it all in Arabic as well. And her phrasing and her tone are just amazing. But the synths are just, and some of the rhythms that she cut up some of the train noises and the kind of door slamming and things to make this completely different from her other stuff. It's kind of the same, more traditional. But this is absolutely fantastic. there's a Russian band called Short Paris, who did, they have an album called, can't pronounce it in Russian, but it translates as Easter. They did one of the best singles I've heard in absolutely years. Again, I can't pronounce it in Russian, but it translates as Shame. And it's a brilliant video as well. But the chorus in it is just a killer. Another Russian band is Dolphin. They did, I haven't really heard the latest album, but the one before that, I think it was called 548 or something like that. It's just a number, and all the track titles are just numbers. Three numbers. That's a brilliant album as well. It's more kind of rock kind of thing, but it's done kind of differently from. That's the thing about these kind of modern Russian artists. They're all kind of really off kilter. They kind of do kind of rock music or electronic music, but they come at it with a different kind of slant, which is great. So yeah, mostly I haven't really been listening to anything new apart from the Jarvis album that's sung in English.
Solomon Gray too, and Air Review is the other band, but Solomon Gray is very good. Some really, really beautiful pieces on that.
Oh, and not to fly the flag. Hannah Peel, her the Mary Casio, Journey to Cassiopeia, great album. What I kind of like about that is that kind of what got me interested in the first was that she had done it's a mixture of synths and a brass band, and our Semaphore track years ago we tried to get a brass band involved. This is way back when we were doing our second album, and the whole idea behind it was to have a drum machine, a sequencer, and a 33-piece brass band from Dublin, who shall remain nameless, right? And it was just such a pain having to deal with them. I mean, the guy used the C word in the second email, committee. And that was the worst C word that you can hear as an artist, committee. And it was just all these barriers. And in the end, I just went, do you know what, mate, leave it. I'll just do it with a Mellotron. And that's what it is. So when I heard that Hannah Peel had done stuff with synths and a brass band, I was kind of curious to hear it. And yeah, so there's Hannah putting Bangor on the map.
Class. So what's next in the immediate future for the band?
We'll be promoting this obviously online for the next while. Things are pretty slow here, getting back to normal. We will be doing another online stream whenever we can, and yeah, I'd say it'll be next year before we'll be back out gigging. So we'll probably put 2 or 3 singles out from this album and do a few live streams and keep writing. And for Tiny Magnetic Pets, you never know. For
anybody that wants to get the album, you're walking the dog.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing next. So, we kind of live for the whole live thing, and it's been has been difficult not being able to get up on stage. We did a couple of unlocked and live kind of things, as we call them, kind of like live kind of broadcasts, where we will be doing a third one probably at the end of May, I think. All things being, if we don't get another lockdown or something.
We should be doing some songs from Blue.
It should, we'll be doing songs from.
Get to rehearse them, honestly.
Yeah, we have to rehearse them. Yeah, that would be an idea. But we'll be doing that, and we were kind of hoping to get a more elaborate one where we had a venue kind of before these lockdowns happened. We had a kind of venue kind of book where we were going to set it up as a proper kind of live show, but with no audience, and then just stream it live. But then we got this second wave of lockdown, so we had to abandon that. So it seems that every time you get an idea for something, just as yes, this is going to work, and then boom, something comes and pulls the rug out from underneath it. But
lots of questions finished, guys. Well, just one more thing.
All right. Yeah.
Can you let everyone know who's going to be watching where they can get the album?
Sean?
At the minute, just order it direct from Bandcamp. It's just Tiny Magnetic Pets Bandcamp.
Cool.
That's we're just because we've done some limited edition blue vinyl, and we've done some limited edition CD digipack. We will be kind of making it kind of available, kind of, on streaming platforms as well, closer to the release date, which is probably going to have to be postponed because we're waiting on the vinyl. We've had a delay with the vinyl. And yeah, once that's all sorted and we reschedule the release date, then you'll be able to get it on all streaming services. But the physical copies you can order straight from Bandcamp.